You mentioned a couple times that you were on the West Coast, and you said you went to West Coast SOI, right?
When I was a PFC private, yep, I was West Coast.
Okay, so I need to settle this debate. So I have two roommates who were West Coast Marines as well. So they were like I was on the East Coast my entire career. They were on the West Coast their entire career. Which place is the worst place to hike? East Coast or West Coast?
Yeah. So if you're in the Lejeune tree line through the very thick thorn bushes, vegetation, swamp water, trash.
Yes.
Trash.
Amen.
Overall, a lot of you Marines don't know unless they've been to Pendleton before. The hills suck, especially at SOI when you do the Horno Canyon and the Horno Shelf.
Yep.
Dude, it's bad. Like
Yep.
them hills, like legit, like destroy your legs, and they suck. And they don't get easier for some reason. They never get easier, no matter how much you work out, no matter how much you sprint up them. They are just as bad as they were the first time you went there.
Yep.
Plus, they're so slick with rocks and gravel, dude. You feel like sometimes you're slipping and falling back down, trying to go up it.
Yeah,
So
my roommate Josh, he talks about that a lot. He always has a bunch of Camp Horno stories.
Horno's trash, dude. Like that whole, like Mateo has some nasty ones out there, but not near as bad as like Horno. What we'll say though about Pendleton that sucks is they have some fat, nasty looking tarantulas, dude. I mean, like I'm a big dude, like my palm size tarantula,
Really? Okay.
and they can be everywhere too, dude. Around your campsite, around your bivouac, some nice sized black widows out there.
God bless, dude. That's I don't know about that. That's
Like they're, especially when I went through, there was that storm that went through Mexico and it pushed, I guess, a lot of tarantulas their season. They pushed a lot of them up there and they were coming out everywhere.
man.
I dug into a tarantula's nest before, actually.
You
Fill up a
dug in.
sandbag.
Wait, so like you just you put your e-tool in there and then it just pops out spiders everywhere? Is that how it was?
So I know it was, cause I think it was a female, cause the way it looked like it had its hole in the ground. I was told, go dig over here. So I'm like, okay. And we're doing O&D for our fleas. And I go to the very far left of this line, to the, I guess, the front of it, to
Yeah.
I go up to the very far left of the defense. And I start, filling up sandbags. My third scoop, I turn back and I look around. Didn't see it before. Is a big, fat, brown tarantula the size of my hand looking straight at me.
God.
I looked at it. It looked at me and it crawled in a hole probably about this big and disappeared. And then they said, "Hey, like you're taking fire, about to be overran. Retreat, retreat." I'm like, "Say less." I threw my sandbags away,
Yeah.
didn't
I
pack
was about
them.
to say, yeah, I think I'll retreat too. This is
I started sprinting down that hill. Then I had to put a casualty on my back and firemen carry him down the hill. And we had to go across a 400 or 500 meter yard open field up to another rocky hill behind us.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
big
Fireman
old
carrying
tarantula.
somebody is a small price to pay, I think, to get away from one of those tarantulas.
Oh yeah, I'm fine with that. Good. Hey, good PT, man. Get out in the field, getting that gains in. Hey, good for us, man. Um, I will say this though, man. Uh, I have a buddy. He just graduated IULC in
Yeah.
Lejeune. He never been to Lejeune before. He's like, I hate Lejeune. Lejeune sucks. The Gizra is the worst.
It's it's always weird because like I'm in this weird dilemma because one of my roommates he was in a similar spot. Like I don't think he went to his advanced school out in Lejeune, but he went to Lejeune for something when he was in the reserves. And every time when I hear the West Coast Marines talk trash about Lejeune, it's like I know what they're talking about. Like it's weird because because I'm an East Coast Marine, I feel like I have to defend the East Coast for some weird reason. Like I
I'd
have
rather
like
go
this
back to Lejeune.
loyalty to it, but like I know what they're talking about. I know how trash it is that they're talking about.
I'll say this, dude. People think Pendleton's worse, dude. If Lejeune Marines were at Pendleton, dude, the only thing they'd ever not shut up about is the hills. No one shuts up about the hills, period.
Yeah.
But Jacksonville, what do you do when you got to Jacksonville, right? You got Toby's. You really don't have much to do out in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a straight up, like, goon, redneck country boy skinning deer in the middle of the field where no one's around. Hopefully you don't get caught shooting some of the bow or your rifle you have in your barracks room that no one's supposed to know about. I don't know, Those good
Yeah.
old country boys, right? Pendleton. No matter where you leave, there's Oceanside, San Clemente. There's food places everywhere. There's beaches. There's a college. There's more to do and blow your money on than just Toby's and Platinums in Lejeune.
Yeah.
Like for us, is Wilmington, right? You have to drive an hour just to go to Wilmington.
Yeah.
Horno, you're not even 5 minutes off base, and there's San Clemente.
hmm
You're not an hour away from LA.
You almost
Like,
say that like being in Camp Pendleton, it's like being in. I don't know if epitome is the right word, but kind of like the picture of what you think of like South California, of like South Cal, like when you think of like the yeah, like the good end of it, if that makes sense.
mm, it is. Oceanside is just a boot hangout spot. I don't really like Oceanside, to be honest with you. I never
hmm
really went there when I went back to my advanced school. Granted, my advanced school, I didn't really start hanging out on weekends until towards the very end when we were almost done with orders and tests and fleas. But
Yeah.
uh Lejeune, man, like, but it's weird too. Can you look at like Marines? Like first, you're like, we were out there, and so many people do. In August and July at Camp Pendleton, right? It's 78, 81, 82 degrees, dry,
Okay.
nice ocean breeze. Dude, right now, if we were in Lejeune, you would hate your life. Like, I I remember coming back from a 5 day field up in Pendleton. I saw, you would stink from all the sweat, but dude, not near as bad as Lejeune. Like crotch rot, swamp rot, like Lejeune's field was way worse than Pendleton. I'd rather, if you want to be comfortable, besides the spiders, the big tarantulas, like Lejeune, like Pendleton's field is not that bad.
Yeah.
Lejeune, on the other hand, oh, that's trash.
Peak
Because like,
humidity, baby.
oh, dude, because like in the summertime, you can't even sleep in anything. Maybe your little bivy sack just to
hmm
keep the bugs off. Even then, somehow the bugs find a way in your bivy sack to chew you up,
Yeah.
dude. Lejeune's Lejeune's nights are horrible in the field. You
Oh.
sweat. Oh, I hated it so bad.
Yeah, and I've noticed this too, being out here in Arizona. Like East Coast colds are like so more disrespectful compared to like West Coast colds. I don't know if it's just because of the humidity, but like 40 degrees like out on the West Coast is like not the same as like 40 degrees like on the East Coast. No matter where you go, it's
Don't forget, Lejeune will bless you with that fat windstorm coming through the cold too.
mm-hmm. Get
Lejeune's
wind
blessed.
burning crap. You're like, oh god.
I'm telling you, man. Like, but overall, though, if it comes down to between the Pendleton and Lejeune, who makes a better Marine?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lejeune Marines granted, you can always adapt, but if you can survive the field in Lejeune, you can climatize to just sucking up the fact that going up a hill like 29 Palms, right? Those hills, the hill range sucks, but a lot of Lejeune Marines after a while will suck. They can adapt and end up doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think if Pendleton Marines went to Lejeune, a lot of them would not be able to really adapt to just the field. They think, oh, flat ground, flat ground, flat ground. Thank God. Then you start going into the tree line where you're going to be training, and then you realize, dude, like this tree line's horrible. You don't crawl through a thorn bush, my chest height.
Yeah.
I don't crawl through a swamp, and not even 50 meters away, we saw a gator swim into it.
Is that's not the same photo that you showed me, right? The
No, but
okay.
or like at least Pendleton, for the most part, there's no big tarantulas hanging off trees that you walk right into, especially at night. Versus summertime Lejeune, we had
Mhm.
big old banana spiders,
Yeah.
and you never saw them unless you walked right into them and felt them.
Yeah, that was always like when you do that like spider web karate move thing when you walk into it. That's when you notice.
Land nav, I'm not always the best at land nav, but what really helped me pass advanced school land nav in Camp Pendleton was it's so easy to terrain associate. It's very easy to terrain associate
What do you
for the
mean by
most
that?
part. So like the Alpha Shelf area, Mateo area, like when you read a map, right, you can tell, oh, here's the hill, here's the hill. Let's say there is a point. Well, on this map, it
Oh,
shows
okay,
the
okay.
radio tower.
Yeah.
Versus Lejeune, you're in that, was it Verona Loop?
hmm
And like there's really, it shows like it'll show fingers and little draws, but man, there's so covered vegetation, you really just don't know which one you're at.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I remember what you're talking about. I thought you were referring to something else, but yeah, I agree with you.
Because every tree in Lejeune's is the same. It looks the same.
Yeah, there's way more than you can count. It's just being all forested. I remember one of my roommate's younger brother, he was talking about because he's on the West Coast and he's kind of trained with some East Coast guys. I don't know if this is like a common theme, but I just wanted to hear your thought on it. He said from what he thought or from what he saw, it says he thinks that the East Coast they tend to have better individual Marines versus like the West Coast tends to have like better units. Like, where do you
I,
like? Would
I
you agree
agree
with
with
that?
that.
Disagree? Or?
I agree with that for one thing. Lejeune, it's like Hawaii, right? They say Hawaii is the worst units in the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
But what Hawaii does focus on, because they're so limited in training, is their very book knowledge. Lejeune, I heard all their advanced schools are more book knowledge than the West Coast. But look at the West Coast. There's more to do and fire in Pendleton than there is Lejeune, I think.
Okay.
Having said that, go to the next door neighbor in California, Camp Pendleton, 29 Palms, where all the biggest ranges, all the like 29 Palms, you can do more than anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so big, you can do so much. You're not limited to a lot. Versus Lejeune, you're kind of limited on where you're at.
Yeah.
So like Pendleton goes to 29 Palms all the time to train and fight, so forth, so forth. So I did notice a lot of like 29 Palm units tend to be, especially 29 Palms. I'd say out of all the Marine Corps, I think, in my honest opinion, from my observation, talking, training with Hawaii, Pendleton, Lejeune, 29 Palms, I'd say 29 Palms was actually probably the best units in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
I remember being on deployment. I worked sitting in the barracks of Okinawa. I was blazing hot. You see 2-7 at like 12, 13 o'clock in the day, sweat, just doing constant drills left and right.
Mm-hmm.
So they do train to a pretty good standard, especially 1-7, 1-7. A lot of my buddies out in 1-7 were very, very solid dudes. 2-7 and 3-7. 3-4 is actually not bad. If you want to go to the 4th Marines, I'd say go 3-4.
Do you think that's part of it too? Because from what I've gathered too, like Lejeune's much under like a heavier microscope. Because like we got Quantico right next to us, so like all the higher ups are there. Like, would you say that is a factor in that too?
Yeah, so when I was in 2-8, well, one of the reasons why I did not stay in 2-8, and people don't really know it, never really notice because no one ever asked me why. I never really gave people the full answer why I left 2-8 after 2 years and I didn't go to their Victor unit. Was I hated the fact that all Lejeune units had to be uniform. We had to wear the stupid chest rigs. Everything had to go like you couldn't have shooter's preference or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
IFAC tourniquets, kill cards, 100% get it. Should be the same across the board.
Mm-hmm.
But if my mag pouches work like in a certain area, then I should be able to keep them there. If it's more effective for me to have them there and have to learn to use a stupid chest rig
Yeah.
that couldn't even hold mags half the time. We kept losing mags, so you could never strap on fully.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth to that. And there's a lot of truth to that. Uh, Quantico, because we're not far from Quantico. I actually got back from Quantico about maybe a little under a month ago. I got dropped from MEIT. I got a medical. I got a med drop for like rhabdo.
Oh,
But
okay.
my blood levels being messed up.
Oh.
But dude, seriously, officers are pricks, dude. I'm telling you right now, man. I was at because FFI, McQuist, MEITs all where officers go to SOI or their ITB. They call their TBS.
Yeah.
Dude, you've been to Walls Creek Jail Hall?
Yeah.
You'd rather put a shotgun around your mouth, right, than some of that food, right?
Yeah.
That's how bad it is. Quantico, dude, like their pizza they had it on Wednesdays tastes like it came from Costco. Like legit, like their food was actually not bad. Their food was actually pretty decent. Their living area, like when you went through ITB, you lived in a squad bay.
Yeah.
They had dorm rooms, and it looked like you were in a college campus.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, officers do tend to get the better end of the bargain in terms of living standards.
Quantico was nice, dude. Quantico was actually a pretty well kept, beautiful base, in my opinion.
Did you get to go to the Marine Corps Museum when you were out there? Or?
Nah, my plan was that, like last weekend would have been the last weekend of the course. If I made it through all the way, I would have spent my last weekend, you know, going around to DC, the Pentagon, all that good jazz, and I got med dropped, and no, I didn't get to,
Okay.
unfortunately. But I want to go back to that course. No, well, I'm glad I did go. Yes. Um, I think the next course I want to go to, man, because this is going to be my last enlistment in the Marine Corps for sure, is we are not far from the Army Air Force Base down here up in Washington.
Yeah.
And they're allowing Marines to go to a Air Force leadership course that's 7 weeks.
Hmm.
So I want to go to Air Force leadership school and kind of maybe see something from a different branch.